Hello and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago. Guys, we have been chatting with Assemblyman Natisha Pantin, and we're talking all things happening in development and agriculture, as well as the sustainable development goals and how that aligns to the THA's Tobago development strategy. But you mentioned earlier about the Tobago Agricultural Research Institute. This is a plan that you guys have in the making to bring, is it a university, agricultural university to the island? Explain to us what T.A.R.I is.
So what we have currently is the Shenell Farm School, where we teach farmers, how to plant different crops and how to rear livestock, right? But it would just be a recreation of the Shenell Farm School into a proper institute, right? Where you could get your certificates and qualify for grants and other incentives. Yeah, but more so, we're looking at the whole issue of climate change and how to introduce different technologies to farmers. So we're looking at climate resilience, techniques to transfer that type of knowledge to farmers, yeah? So we're aiming for our first cohort in September. That's our aim. We're working hard. We have a committee set up led by Miss Alicia James. And I must say that the committee, they have been moving mountains given the short space of time that they were given and the mandate that they were given. So the next fiscal, you'll definitely see more coming out from that committee. And of course, they would start off as a committee, and when the life of the committee comes to an end, then you'll see even greater things, yeah? So we're all in the planning stages of everything, right?
Okay. And what is the productivity level right now as we speak at the Shenell Farm School?
The productivity level. So what the Shenell Farm School does, it trains farmers, right? And also create demonstration plots. So the farmers themselves, they would have the knowledge to go back to their holdings and produce, yeah? And of course, when we got in data collection, right, it is an issue. And I don't want to say it as if data collection in Tobago is an issue. Data collection across the region is an issue. I've attended conferences where we've had this discussion on how we can coordinate data to effectively manage agriculture in our countries. So T.A.R.I would be looking at that as well. We also have a unit called Research and Development Information Unit, RADIS, yeah? So they also are looking at how they organize data in the division, yeah? So the basic thing of just knowing what a farmer does, we'll have to move away from that. If we have to come up with all sorts of monitoring systems, whether it's for relief or whatever, everything must be informed by data. So T.A.R.I would play a key role in that, along with RADIS and the incentives unit. So we're at that stage where we're reorganizing our data collection systems.
Okay, we've heard the suggestion of the University of Tobago or yes. Tobago University. How does this initiative fit into that overall strategy or plan?
The Tobago University is, well, even if we have T.A.R.I and there's a component of agriculture, the students would have the opportunity to work with T.A.R.I, work in T.A.R.I. Because with this institute, you'll be exposed to many things, experimental, experiments, demonstrations. I'll give you an example. So we had a banana plot, and that was rolled out by the FAO, right? They funded the project, how to successfully grow and ripen bananas in Tobago. right? And I know we take it for granted that we have bananas in the back of our yards and we could just pick them, but there's an entire scientific process that you must engage in if you want to sell bananas at a commercial level, right? So that knowledge you can get at the Kendall Farm School. If you want to build greenhouses from bamboo, right? That knowledge you can get from the Kendall Farm School. If you want to grow onions or you want to start a herbal garden, that knowledge you can get from the Tobago Agriculture Research Institute. As a matter of fact, even recently, and I think I saw it on some media houses would have featured it, where you saw MAFAS, and we often bring the agronomists from MAFAS to teach our technical officers and farmers in Tobago, right? But you saw where we have farmers growing pawpaws, right? A dwarf variety, and successfully growing pawpaw at a commercial level, yeah? So when you leave the institute, you would be able to practice agriculture in its true sense, right? Having the scientific knowledge of it.
Okay. And being that Tobago has never gotten what it has requested from the national budget, do you think that you would be given an adequate amount of money to get the job done?
No, I'm trained to be optimistic. And I want to say how to respond to that. If I'm optimistic about getting the budget, I think we should get it. We should get the 6%. We should get what we're entitled to, right? But we know how the politics goes. But we at the division, we are not just sitting down and depending on central government. As a matter of fact, we recently got approval for $20,000 to assist us with our herbal project, right? Our herbs and spices. And, so we're out there, our technical officers are out there writing proposals, getting funding externally so that we can proceed with our plans. Aside from that, right, we have been trying to make money, right, with some of the things that we're doing that could feed back into fixing things or providing additional services. So when we got in, and of course I need to say it again and again, we didn't inherit new things. Everything was run down. So we had to rethink and strategize how to stay alive at the division with no money. So we had to, use that sustainability mandate and come up with innovative ways to manage these different stations. So if for example, you see this Scarborough Botanic Garden Christmas Blitz, right? That was an opportunity to say, hey, we're about to look at our open spaces across Tobago, implement user fees, see how we can manage them, right? To take away some of that cost from the division so that we can channel the resources elsewhere. And you're going to see, if you haven't seen already, that we're going to do consultations as it relates to the Corland site, the recreational park, right? That is in order to implement user fees. You're going to see we're going to be doing that for several open spaces. And not only because we need the money in order to take away, some of the burden, but also because we want to encourage families, right, to utilize these spaces. So if we have to build the greatest little island on the planet, we can't build it with children just looking at their cell phones, right? We need them to come out and to socialize, to get to know their neighbors, to get to know their cousins. And, we need to build that, we have child by child, family by family, village by village. So it is an attempt to bring Tobago back to what it used to be, right? I could have called the names of all of my cousins, Trinidad and Tobago, right? No, our children know that now. Do they do that, right? So we really need to start building families, utilizing the open spaces, right, and transforming the culture of Tobago from technology back to what Tobago used to be.
Excellent. And when we're gonna touch a little bit
Mhm.
again on some of the sustainable development goals, because one of those goals are gender equality.
Yes.
What have you been doing in the division specifically in regards to gender equality?
Women would have played a significant role in agriculture throughout the years. History would prove that. And for some reason, they have been moved away from the land and more in, and gravitating more towards agro-processing. So you would find women doing more of the cooking, doing processing and packaging. And we at the division decided that we need to provide that additional support for women, right? To bring them back out into agriculture and to encourage them to utilize their creativity to make money. As women, we do so many things. We battle with so many issues. And if the Division of Agriculture need to get on board with social protection, for example, and, teach what you call it, economic dependence or financial freedom, I think this is the best opportunity right now to capitalize on investing in women, especially women who they have an affinity for craft. And that is why I have been supporting everything local, right? People across the space would tell you I order their soaps, their creams, their body butters. They will tell you their preservatives, their local foods, right? I tend to support everything local because I want to be able to speak on it and to market it so that people will support the stakeholders in the sector. Yeah. So as a division, we opened up several opportunities to women. Training through ICA, right? ICA would have come on board and all the different funding agencies. We would have worked with the business development unit. So when we speak about divisions collaborating, we would have collaborated with the Office of the Chief Secretary and the Division of Finance to look at mechanisms and to improve on existing mechanisms to finance women gravitating into this type of activity. So I believe the grant was about either 25,000, but it would have doubled to 50, something like that, right? I just have to double check. But the incentives would have increased, the grants would have increased as a result of the division working with the business development unit, right? As a matter of fact, the Chief Secretary expected us to tailor everything to support the different sectors, and that is what we would have been doing, right? So I think that it's successful. We are successful. And I'll tell you something, Piarco Airlines, they came to us and they said, we know that you have stakeholders in your division and we have space. So if you all can come together, we would be able to transport your goods out of Tobago. Right? So we are starting to explore the market. You see, TADCO would have engaged in, bringing the agro-processors together, partnering with other entities, right? So that is what we're doing, working with everybody to bring them up to not only to market their products locally, but also to export.
Excellent. And what are you doing in regards to quality assurance to ensure that those products are up to
Oh, yes.
export quality?
Oh, yes. So T.A.R.I, all the testing agencies are part of that collaboration, right? ICA as well. They have access to so many different stakeholders that can, So we have been working, Export TT, ADB, everybody, right? We know each other now, so well that we coordinate and we hold meetings with the agro-processors very often. You see those huge meetings in the Shore Park Cultural Complex, right? You would not believe how many people are just gravitating naturally, right, to what they know to make. Women are so talented, and men, right? And of course, even though we're saying we're referring to women, men also, they have access to the same grants, yeah? So we want Tobagonians. And when we say gender equality, we mean men and women, right? Gender equality, we are pushing for access to all these grants and incentives across the board for all types. Yeah?
Excellent. And we're going to pivot a bit and talk about tractor pull now. For a while, tractor pull
Yes,
has been a sore point in regards
yes,
to
yes,
farmers complaining that they can't really
yes,
depend on
yes,
tractor pull to get
yes,
the type of machinery that they need within reasonable time.
yes.
How has that improved during your time, and what are you doing to develop tractor pull?
So tractor pull also is a sore point, yes, in terms of infrastructure, poor infrastructure. And a lot of the tractors, they weren't working. We had a lot of challenges in managing the backlog, the huge backlog. We had over 300 backlog um, we inherited. And we decided to come together with the Division of Finance, the Chief Secretary, thanks to you and your division, we were able to finance additional tractors. And the technical officer reported that, that backlog was down to 30, right? In the second to last meeting that we had. So I was really pleased to see that transition from over 300 to 30. And you'd still have the requests coming. So very soon, right, you're going to see they put out a notice that we're inviting people to now come in and pay and get tractor services. But I must say that there is no tractor pool in Trinidad, and that is so for a reason, because farmers, if we are talking about financial freedom and getting to a commercial level, all these grants and incentives, for example, the $100,000 grant and all these grants, they want people to invest in the farms, right? Agriculture is a science and it's a business. And if you have to sit down and rely on tractor pool to give you that service, right, that isn't commercial farming. You want a tractor or some sort of, equipment that would rotavate or bank, or you need that at your convenience if you're a commercial farmer, right? So tractor pool, there's no tractor pool in Trinidad. So actually what we're doing is really a hell of a service in Tobago. So we're encouraging farmers to get, try to source something that you can get at your convenience if you want to engage in commercial farming. And of course, if we're looking at food security, right, you have to become self-sufficient. Yeah. But tractor pool is there still. We're providing the support. And I'm really happy that our technical staff, they're really trying to manage the demands. Sometimes I get the cries from my technical staff that they feel that the public isn't considering how hard they work. And I'm saying to the public, they do work hard. To move from 300 to 30 is plenty, right? They do work hard and they are committed to continuing that hard work. The infrastructure development, we're trying to do things in-house. As I said, we don't have all that amount of money to contract everything out under the division. So we're mobilizing labor, even if it is labor outside of my division, in order to come together to do some infrastructural upgrades at Tractor Pool.
Excellent. And which grants are available for farmers to empower themselves to, get the type of heavy machinery and equipment that's needed to support commercial farming?
So you have the national in the incentives program, right? Where you come to the division and you have there's a booklet where you would have a rebate, right? It's a rebate system. So if you purchase something, then you get a percentage rebate. And then there's the $100,000 NAMDEFCO grant, right? That you have to apply for. Now you can make up the forms, right? We could assist you at the division, and then the submission, I believe it's ADB, right? So you submit it there, and then it goes to Trinidad for assessment and approval. The unfortunate thing is that we don't have a lot of individuals, stakeholders applying. It is not limited to farmers. Fishermen can apply. As a matter of fact, any stakeholder under agriculture can apply for that $100,000 grant. But we don't have a lot of people applying for the grants. So we're encouraging people to submit the forms. The only thing is, we would have tried to lobby for the the allocation to come to the division, and our technical officers do the assessment in order to, approve the grant and to distribute it. But we so far we have not gotten that request, any response to that request. So basically, Trinidad does everything, even come up and do the technical aspect. But
So what about a request to have maybe a Tobago representative on that assessment committee?
the thing is, you want to be able to, I mean, nothing is wrong with Tobagonians doing that assessment. All the technical officers, we're familiar with the stakeholders in the field. We're familiar with every farm. And the only challenge is we don't have the allocation.
Okay.
And to settle for, I need just an officer, to, that's, I don't think that was the first move, right? The first move would be to request the allocation.
Okay.
But nevertheless, we are adhering to the rules. And we are encouraging, we provide the forms. We actually show stakeholders how to fill out the forms, and you'll have access to that $100,000 grant. So whenever they do their assessment there, they'll come up and give you the grant, right? But you have access to BDU grant now, which it move, I believe, from 25 to 50, right? But you must be a registered entity. And I want to say that the new procurement arrangement, and that's something we should speak about, if you give me just a few minutes. Now, before you could have just taken goods from farmers, right? Now, you have to be a registered entity with the OPR before we as a division or as a company engage in business with you, right? Otherwise, we'll be violating laws, right? This new Procurement Act. So if you're experiencing any delays as it relates to TADCO, if you're an agro-processor, a farmer, a fisherman, and you're experiencing those delays, it is because we're trying to train them and bring them up to the requirements, right? So that we could be compliant. Yeah. So the OPR, it is a challenge, yes. We all understand, before where they could have just chosen a contractor, you chose a farmer, or you choose a... No longer that could be done because of the recent Procurement Act. Yeah? So there are a lot of things that we have to put in place to ensure that Tobagonians become compliant with the national laws, the laws that pass in Parliament.
Excellent. And guys, we're going to take a quick break right here, and we'll be back right after this.